Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again. All right, folks. Hope everybody had a marvelous day as I did yet again in my incredible string of good days, right? That goes back further than I can count, so I won't try. All right. I say it every time, don't I? I'm going to make this a quick video. But I think that I can cover this one a little more quickly than I have some other failed attempts at being brief and succinct. All right. I wanted to talk about the difference between your spirit and your soul, right? So let's lean in on a couple of different disciplines. And we'll just generalize and acknowledge mainstream science pretty much catching up in most of this stuff. Physics, as it sort of slips into quantum physics, certainly gives you a little perspective on this, but most certainly metaphysics, right? So let's understand what each of the two is in order to then sort of analyze the difference between the two. All right, your spirit. So we hear all the time of the spirit world, and we should, because the spirit world, in all actuality, is the real world. Yes, all this that we experience in 3D, 4D is projected from the higher dimensional fields, right? If you think about a light refractor, or let's even just go something basic like a prism, and you see how a prism sort of strips down a solid beam of quote-unquote white light into separate strips or layers, right? Which we identify as colors in the spectrum, right? Sort of similar when you begin to talk about the separation of dimensions, right? And the spirit world, when you speak of the spirit world, you are in fact speaking of higher dimensions. Okay, my big dog brethren, peace, love, respect. But yeah, when you are referencing the spirit world, you are referencing that which exists in higher dimensional aspects than what we exist here in the physical, in a 3D, 4D reality. So, pretty much like the prism, and its method of sort of stripping down the layers of the light spectrum, you can sort of strip down dimensionally from the higher dimensions or the spirit realm to the lower dimensions or what is physical, right? For what we know, you can have physical existence, the likes of which, what we know and would be familiar with. All the way up until like the fifth dimension, right? Then the difference in vibrational frequency makes it a little bit difficult for corporeal physical bodies to exist. I won't say impossible, but anyway, when you're talking about, again, the spirit world, you're talking about higher dimensions, right? So let's demystify that. Your spirit, of course, exists in the spirit world. Your spirit is, in fact, the real you. You are multi-dimensional beings existing in layers or dimensions. Your spirit is multi-dimensional. And the greater totality of you is, in fact, of your spirit self. Right? Not that your physical representation isn't part of you, it certainly is. But again, you only have your physical representation in the lower dimensions. Whereas the higher dimensions are far more vast, right, and expansive. So, again, a greater portion of the totality of that which is you is your spirit, which exists in the spirit world. And remember, folks, when we're talking about dimensions, all we're talking about are different states of existence that are separated by vibrational frequency thresholds, right? To make it very simple. On a quantum level, it's far more complicated than that, but that's just a simplistic way of stating it. So, that frames up a little bit, just a little bit of what your spirit is. All of your higher dimensional selves is what exists energetically as your spirit. Now, your soul. I said again not long ago that your physical body is in fact part of you as well, obviously, and is part of the totality of you, which also includes, of course, your higher dimensional selves or your spirit self. Your soul is something that is a necessity in order for your spirit, for lack of a better word, to interface with your physical self, right? It is your soul that allows your spirit to attach and, in fact, express itself by growing you physically from your root chakra, right? Once you are grown physically from your root chakra as an expression, physically, a physical expression of your spirit self, it is your soul that allows the interface between the two. Your physical self, which again is of the lower dimensionality, and your spirit self, which is of the higher dimensionality. Your soul is sort of the middleman, right, between the two. The soul's the plug. What? In many different ways. And it is, in fact, very necessary for you to be in touch with your spirit self at all on a conscious or aware level. Okay, good people. Peace, love, respect. All right, y'all have a good night. So, we got some folks out listening to some good music, out on the porch, got the grill going, whatever, doing their thing. That's beautiful. So, yeah, it's very necessary for that connection. Now, think of your soul as another one of those layers, right? As an energetic layer that allows for this interface between your spirit and your physical self. The difference between the two, now, listen, when we talk about on a physics level, particularly on a quantum physics level, everything we're talking about is energy, right? But we know that energy can exist in different forms in different states. So we have three different levels of energy: the physical body, the soul. All right, brothers. Let me give you brothers my card, man. I got a book available called Peace, Love, Respect. This is the New Way by King Sadiq. It's on Amazon right now. Yes, sir. My YouTube channel's there as well. I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all have a good night. All right. It's good, brothers. But your necessity for your soul, again, that's your only means of interfacing with, of communicating with. Communing is probably a better word, because communicating seems like you're speaking or interacting with something external, and your soul certainly is not external. But when we don't have full vibrancy, right, or full clear energetic patterning, it's probably an appropriate word for our soul layer, right? Remember, we're referring to it as an energetic layer. Then we have poor ability to connect with, to commune with, to be able to utilize at all our spirit, right? And when you talk about folks who have, through different mechanisms, lost their soul, so to speak, you're now talking about an individual who is completely cut off from their spirit. If you could just imagine that. Which I don't even care to. That's a horrible existence. to be completely cut off from your own spirit. And this is a process that we've, I don't know if I want to describe it as a process, but this is a state that we've heard described in different ways from different perspectives. Some of which we've heard from the individuals themselves who have lost, or as commonly referred to these days, sold their souls, right? You know, when they talk of hellish nightmares, right? Constantly, they suffer from different levels of psychosis, or different forms of psychosis. They are very rarely in a state of happiness or experience joy, right? Pure joy or elation in their lives. And when you see these people smiling and putting on a good face, oftentimes they are pretending. And that's a sad thing, to even think of that state of existence for a human being. But this is just a mild description, very mild description, because there's a lot worse that happens. Probably one of the biggest things is the complete loss of empathy. When you become soulless, you lose, again, that connection to your spirit, which is where the wellspring of your love is housed, right? So without that, you don't truly love yourself with any depth or meaning, which makes it virtually impossible for you to extend love to others. Again, you can fake your way through it, but you lack it. You know, these poor folks literally lack empathy, and this is why, or where we start to see some of the extreme manifestations of being a soulless person, and serial killers, sociopaths, right? Folks who would be inclined to have such nefarious plots as depopulation, right? These are individuals who have lost that soul layer through whatever means, right? Your ability to identify empathetically with other beings is lost. Your ability to appreciate life in general from a loving perspective, right? To be able to appreciate creation is lost. Everything becomes merely a means to your own myopic, selfish personal gain, which is often centered around materialistic gain, right? Or what is viewed as power exerted over others. These are some of the things that we see from individuals who have lost their soul layer. And, you know, you could see it from anywhere from individuals who are public figures, entertainment figures, to people who are in your everyday lives, unfortunately, right? Even those folks who are, you know, seen in the public eye often, they're someone's family, right? And that's another, a whole nother topic, the separation mentality that has us always thinking it's somebody else down the street. Somebody else down the street might as well be somebody in the next room, right? Because everybody is someone to somebody. But anyway, this is unfortunate, but I wanted to cover it because having a general understanding of this, I think is going to be very helpful with going forward, particularly with all the things that are coming out or going to be coming out in the next few months. A lot of which are already starting to come out. You know, things that have already become public, like starting to make some real headway in breaking up the human trafficking and the child trafficking and that incredibly ugly. I fail at times to find words to adequately describe how despicable and disgusting the acts committed by these individuals who have this need, this negative need, as to do such things as to harm children and to traffic other human beings and for, again, just despicable purposes. So I won't get off into that tangent. I didn't do too bad, but I still didn't make this. I'm not going to call it a short video. King Sadiq, you failed to make it a short video again. We'll call it a medium-sized video and leave it at that. I thank y'all so much for chiming in with me one more again, as I like to say it. And I love you all. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for supporting me and checking in on the channel and allowing me to share with you, right? Means more to me than I can express. So thank you all. Peace, love, respect. Worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq.